June 2000. Nothing at all to report. I'm still working at Frame Art Galleries as a picture framer. Still don't remember if I'm in Strongsville or Westlake at this point. I'll have to look into that, figure out exactly which location I was working at for one of these videos at some point. But that's, yeah, just living my life, working at Frame Art, reading books. So let's jump right into what I read in June of 2000. And the first book was Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. This is about a guy who's writing a book about the end of the world. He's looking into one of the creators of the atomic bomb and is talking to his son or something like that, and finds out that this guy also invented something called Ice 9 that can turn water into ice with a 140 degree melting temperature. This all leads to a worldwide disaster. And of course, crazy Kurt Vonnegut-esque shenanigans and characters and such. It's a classic Vonnegut book. But I followed that up with Demolition Angel by Robert Crace. This is one of his few non-Elvis Cole books, so it's just Demolition Angel, a novel. And the main character, let me check my notes, is Carol Starkey. And she was a bomb dismantling expert until something went wrong. And her partner / lover was killed. She was scarred. Now she's just working as a detective. But some bombs are going off. She gets the case. And it turns out these bombs are made specifically to kill bomb technicians. So she's got to figure out what's going on and stay alive. And, you know, but it's Robert Crace. It's a well-written thriller. I don't recall if this is before or after Speed. I don't remember when Speed came out. Next up, we have Ice Fire by Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens. And this is just one of those sort of techno thriller kind of things that I didn't even write anything down for this. I didn't. You have ex-lovers. The main characters used to be lovers. Now they're enemies. One's an ex-Navy SEAL. The other's an oceanographer. But they're thrown together because China is going to use nuclear weapons to create tidal waves to mess up the world. I don't remember much about this or anything about this at all, really. So probably just sort of a generic James Rollins or Preston and Child kind of book. The kind of thing I like when they're well written. But I really don't remember anything. All right, now I'm going to condense the next 3 books. Because what I read next was, all 3 of these are written by Greg Cox. So X-Men Avengers Gamma Quest Book 1, Lost and Found. X-Men Avengers Gamma Quest Book 2, Search and Rescue. And X-Men Avengers Gamma Quest Book 3, Friend or Foe. All by Greg Cox. And I have the omnibus right there. Nice, thick, relatively new, just a few years old that this was printed. An omnibus, but back then I had all 3 books, read them all. Basically, Scarlet Witch and Rogue, Scarlet Witch who's a member of the Avengers, Rogue who's a member of the X-Men, they both go missing. And so, of course, the X-Men are searching for Rogue, the Avengers are searching for Scarlet Witch. They're going to cross over, they're going to clash, they're going to team up. And in the second book, or some point, they team up with the Hulk because they find out, spoilers, the bad guy is the leader. And he's got these sort of gamma sentinels and don't know, what's he doing with Scarlet Witch and Rogue. But I'm a fan of the Avengers. I like some of the X-Men characters. So, fun stuff to read. I like these trilogies that came out back in the day. I like that I can get an omnibus now and reread it if I want to. And of course, it's they're going to team up, but they're also going to clash. You always got to fight. Even when the good guys get together, they got to fight a little bit. But that's X-Men Avengers Gamma Quest, books 1 through 3 by Greg Cox. So this is the omnibus is 570 pages. But I read it in threes. In threes. All right. Then we have Talion Revenant by Michael A. Stackpole. And this is about these people that are called justices. And they're basically kind of like Judge Dredd. They travel the land, this fantasy land, and they're the law. And so the main character, Nolan, is one of these justices. And he's assigned to protect this king. But this king is the guy that destroyed Talion's country and killed his family. So he's duty bound to protect him, but of course he hates him. What's going to happen? I don't remember. But I enjoy Michael A. Stackpole's writing, so it's probably not bad. All right, then we have The Last Gunfighter, The Drifter by William W. Johnstone. This is the first in the Last Gunfighter series, and the character's name is Frank Morgan. He's got a wife and some land, but he's driven off by some shitty rich guy. This is the Old West. So he becomes a drifter and a gunfighter, and he drifts into this New Mexican town where two rival gangs are headed. And so the town hires Frank Morgan, to protect them from these two gangs that are coming. I don't remember Johnstone's Westerns feeling nearly as political as some of his horror stuff that I've read recently. I feel like this was just a straightforward, simply written Western. But I haven't read too much of his Western stuff. I have a whole stack of his horror. I'd love to get more of it. It's easy to read, crazy conservative, a lot of it, and very wild. It's weird reading his stuff. All right, the penultimate book for June of 2000. Nonfiction now. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. And this is essentially, if I remember correctly, I didn't even bother to look it up, essentially an epistolary history book. Not completely, but it is, a good part of it is made up of actual letters, journals, what have yous, from the times that this discusses the history of the United States. So it's history stuff, and then here's an actual journal entry, or here's an actual letter, and then this is what was going on in the world, and this is how this shaped this. And one of the things I remember the most was, I don't know word for word, but basically was Christopher Columbus sending a letter back to Spain saying essentially, these people will be very easy to enslave. And then the other thing that stood out was anytime there was any unrest amongst the populace of the United States, oh, look, we have to go to war. Patriotism, we're all in this together, let's go to war. A fascinating book, one I've considered rereading. It's pretty big, and I don't have a copy of it, but it should be very easy to find. But A People's History of the United States, I found it fascinating. And so you're not getting the watered, as long as I'm accepting that these journal entries and letters and such are legitimate, that it's not made up, but this isn't like watered down history that you're getting in school, in grade school. This has apparently the actual words of the people that were there giving us the real story. And then finally, the last book that I read in June of 2000 is A Prayer for the Dying by Jack Higgins. I've talked about this many, many times. A member of the Irish Republican Army, after something goes wrong, wants to get out. He's forced into doing one more job, which is killing a mobster at a cemetery. It's witnessed by a priest. So he goes and confesses to the priest, so the priest can't say anything. But the people that hired him don't trust the priest is going to keep his mouth shut. And so the IRA guy, Fallon is his name, is protecting the priest and his blind niece, I believe it is. Very quick rundown. One of my favorite books. I absolutely love this book. I've read it many, many, many times. I'll read it again. I just thought about reading it the other day because I wasn't quite sure what I was in the mood for. I was like, I could always pick up A Prayer for the Dying, but I made a different choice. Love this book. Big fan of the movie as well. So A Prayer for the Dying by Jack Higgins. Not a bad way to end the month. So there you have it. Everything I read in June of 2000. My question for this video is, it's not about your reading habits or anything. It's about these videos. And I don't get a lot of views on these videos at all. I do get a bit of engagement. So with a book like A Prayer for the Dying that I've talked about many times because I've read it many times, it's been on this list many times, it's going to be on the list again. Do I operate under the assumption that the people watching these videos have seen me talk about this book before, so I don't even have to give a synopsis or anything? Or should I work under the assumption that there could be a new viewer who has never heard me talk about it before, so I should give the synopsis every time I talk about it? That's my question. What do you think? Do I need to go over what the book is about every time? And there are books, obviously, that I've reread. Or should I just be like, it's Prayer for the Dying by Jack Higgins. I've read it many times. You know what it's about because I've talked about it. There you go. That's what I read. Or, as I did, give that quick synopsis. Excuse me. Choking myself. So what are your thoughts on that? Do I just hold it up and say this is what I read? Or should I, just in case a new viewer jumps in, should I go over the whole thing? Or doesn't it matter? For those regular viewers, you've heard it before. Do you get tired of hearing it every time? Let me know in the comments below. Please, and thank you. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is still at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. That's all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.